Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. And as you know that I am an instructional designer. So basically, we will talk about in today's second session. We will talk about visualization part of instructional design. That is very important part of an instructional design. We as instructional designers convert the script, text, uh, boring content, SME dumb content into a learning flow. Like whatever we need to teach to our learners, we have a base material text. We have to chunk that text and convert into a effective learning. So basically how we do this, first of all we open a, like let's say PowerPoint slide. We have to storyboard, or even we can say final storyboard output, which is in form of e-learning slide. Whenever we need to create e-learning slide, so we ensure that it should be effectively communicate what we are trying to say in easy simple words, without making learners to focus much. Let's say if you see current slide, it has simple visual layout, right? And and if you know, so today's our agenda is to learning how to visualize PowerPoint slides, right? Whatever text we have. So if we are talk about this, so this slide has a clear message like designing effective PowerPoint presentation. How we design the presentation that is effective, that solves the purpose, right? So we have some research based analogy here. So let's move to the presentation. So basically, like when you are creating a design, when you are converting a text to a slide design, from a text or voiceover, if you are make a slide, so how we do it? So first of all, what goes wrong? Let's understand what goes wrong. Slide packed with unfocused text heavy bulleted list, confuse and disengage audience. Whenever your slide has a bullet points, right? So we think that we have chunked the information in a particular bullet point, but when learners see the bullet point, they can't recognize and make sense from these 5 to 6 bullet points. So we have to tackle that. Like instead of, let's say, as an instructional designer we have a three paragraph, right? What we did is that we divided that paragraph in 5 to 6 bullet point, but that bullet point itself not make any meaning, like full meaning, right? So let's say if this is a PowerPoint slide I have, this is a slide, okay, this is a first bullet point, second bullet point. So this doesn't make an much effectiveness. We think that we have chunked in proper bullet point, but that is not how effective learning happens. Okay. So the what goes wrong? This is a wrong. Like we text even the bullet point text without any supporting image, right? Uh, so cognitive research finding. What research? People cannot simultaneously process textual and verbal information. Okay, both use both use the same part of the brain. Like when I am trying to explain to you, when I am, let's say I am a learner, I'm watching a screen, right? And if there is a voiceover narration part, so either I can fully focus on the narration specifically, or either I can fully focus on the screen. So if my screen is too much heavy, too much text, and there is a narration also, so as our brain we can only focus on one thing. We can use only our one sense. If there is a screen where the presentation having like few too many bullet point or too many texts, and there is a speaker, so we will be confused that where to focus on, either on slide or either whatever the speaker is saying, right? So that is why as a learner we have to understand that our brain is limited to process some extent of information, right? So that is why whenever we are designing our slide, e-learning slide, so we have to ensure that we should not distract the learner from the core purpose. Okay, so blocking out the speaker voice, ignoring the text on the slide. Either we will ignore it if you are, let's say, there is a heavy text. Okay, either we will focus, if we are focusing in screen, so we will ignore the speaker, and if we are listening to speaker, we ignore the PowerPoint. Why we have even made the PowerPoint, right? So toggling between reading and listening. So we will, some learner will confuse whether to focus on the screen or whether to focus on the learner. Okay, so that is a goal. How to design the presentation that support the narration or narrator and without loading too much, right? So let's say if there are only few, one graphic, one text, one graphic, and learner is saying, so we can easily process. We need, whenever we see a visual, okay, so that is the most effective way to teach any concept, any theory, and all, and then supported by the narration, then it will be effective learning because we don't have to process much. We are seeing an process image or diagram, that's it, and learn, and speaker, whatever speaker explaining, right? So that is a effective way. So as instructional designer, and today's focus is to master about the how to visualize from the speaker, or how to design effective e-learning slides, self-placed slides, or whatever, right? So the assertion evidence model increases audience retention by 32%. So by the end of this module, you will be able to create your slides, PowerPoint slides, in an effective way, that by that you can effectively, your slides will be 32% more effective for the learners. Okay, so first, whenever you are creating a slide, whether it is a e-learning slide, ensure first thing is that your sentence heading, let's say you are writing a heading of slide, like what is the purpose of slide, so keep that heading clear, what the purpose is giving, right? Let's say, taking the example, some slide you may say I'm explaining the topic, and next slide come, what goes wrong, only the upper heading is what goes wrong. So it is not communicating anything, like what we are trying to make, right? What we are trying to communicate, what goes wrong, it is not clarifying anything very well. Okay, if I am that, instead of writing what goes wrong, if I say disadvantages, okay, how we fail while making slide, okay, instead of saying what goes wrong, I'm writing slide as a full sentence, okay, then it is make much sense, like we, so whenever you are writing a heading of a slide, describe it proper full sentence, like how to communicate effectively. So that is a specific slide title, that's explain the learner what the slide is about, right? So state the slide main idea as a complete distinct sentence, not a topic label, right? So first is that. Second is visual evidence. Whenever you are creating a slide, so basically if you have summarized this whole thing, you have to make a clear, to gain a 32%, you have to make a clear heading. Like let's say there is a clear heading. So you have to make your clear heading, either it is a sentence case, no matter what. It is okay if it is even in sentence case. Reinforce the argument with functional diagram, charts, or image. You can use diagram, charts, images to make things clear. Like here, I have not used any chart, but it is making clear sense. Sentence heading, visual evidence, simplified design. One, two, three. So it is making much sense. Okay. So third point is, first use a clear heading. Second, use a visual thing, right? And then after that, simplify design. Include only essential information, like don't include any, like music, background music, loud background music, it is not making any sense. It will not support, or fancy animation, it won't support learning aspect, right? So okay, so whenever you are going to design, so keep three things important. First, clear heading, clear what in in proper sentence format, clear heading, what the slide is about, it's to be clear. Use the visual evidence, either it can be diagram, charts, images, but supportive images, and simplify design, remove the extra thing which is not supporting learning anything. Sometimes as an instructional designer we want to look it pretty, but our goal is to support learning. That is why we should remove it, right? Even if subject matter expert says that the slide is like not looking very much, so you can explain like here the focus is that is why we are not adding any background music, any irrelevant, like you are talking about communication skill and you add flowers, like it is not making any sense. Why you need a flower for teaching that concept? So whenever you are creating site, ask one question: is is it a necessary, right, for the learning? Now a complete sentence heading tells A complete sentence heading tells your audience what to think, not just what to look at. Okay. Whenever you have a clear heading, so they know before learning. Like, yeah, we are going to learn about how to communicate effectively, how to create effective PowerPoint presentation. Like this slide is okay. So appears at the top of the slide, like first in order, focus order. It will be first, place prominently to the audience see the message first before looking at visuals. First, they will look at the uh, first attention. Their first essential will be at the heading. So, heading to be clear. Then contains one distinct point. One heading must be one idea. Multiple point dilute focus. Like if you have to let's say if you are explaining about how to communicate effectively, okay, then in the same slide you said that how to effective communicate and the type of communication. Within one slide you are giving two messages, that is completely wrong. One slide, one visual, one idea, one clear heading, that should be the flow, right? Flow logical from previous slide. First slide, what is communication skill? Then heading, next heading, yeah, we learned what is effective communication. Now we will learn how to effectively communicate. Then third slide will be logically what not to do while presenting, right? So that will be the third point. uh, Now I want you to look at this, right? This is the same thing but with some example, right? Consider this example, right? Consider the example, like before the slide has, okay, wait a minute. So in this slide you can see that there is a result, right? Like we are making some slide and we have done something and there is a result, we are presenting result. 1 point GEDR, double blind, recurrence over 40 weeks, 30% triple therapy, 75 plus alone. So these are the some process result, right? I am a, like there is a narration explaining one by one. So that is not making any sense, right? Here, here applying the principle what we have talk about, like clear heading, visual support, right? And removing extraneous information which is not supporting, right? Now in this slide here, message distilled into a complete sentence heading. So we have added a clear sentence, right? Triple therapy reduce unclear recurrence by 60% over traditional retendant treatments, right? So here I am getting a clear idea, like what is the result, and here I represented with the 60%, 30%, like 30% triple therapy to 75% retina. So that is a clear visual focus, clear title heading. So that is a way we should present our slide. This is a practical approach, right? Let's take some another example, right? Now sometimes we have a category differentiation, right? Okay, like a plus b is equal to a b. So sometimes we have some text like this, like when we add this to this we will gain an output like a plus b is equal to ap. So we are getting some response. So whenever you see the mineral economic slide without following the principle we have talked about, like this slide explains that free market is a plentiful mineral resources, cheap supply extend demand. Another point is resource becomes scarce, price decrease, demand exceeds supply. So how this is communicated very well. First of all, we have a clear heading. In the free market, supply determines price. So that is a purpose. We in a free market, supply determine price. Price, okay, okay. Supply will be determined in the free market, right? So here large supply plus added by the few buyer is equal to cheap prices. Scarce supply many buyers is equal to higher price. So that is explaining clearly that will obviously have some more learning ROI. ROI. If you are making a course like this, that is supporting the learning. That should how we should do, right? This is anyway better, right? So here we have used visual perfectly, right? Now let's look at again our PowerPoint. And now visual evidence reinforce your argument and boost audience recall by 32%. Visual evidence reinforce your argument and boost audience recall. Like if you are making visual, if you are adding visuals in your PowerPoint, I am talking about visuals that are supporting to learning or a concept, not a random flowers, car, bicycle images like mountains, beautiful mountain scenery, not only related to concept, right? If and it is sometime as an instructional designer when we learn, we all know that instructional design in instructional design we all know that whenever we are creating a slide we have to add images, right? We learned that images are a good way to improve learning, right? But sometime in some texts we don't understand, like there is a no particular reference image like perfect image that represent the concept. So unnecessarily we don't need to add irrelevant images. What we can do is we can use an infographic for that, where we don't have visual, so we can present the information, same information, in a simplest way, like infographic, reveal one by one with the narration. So that will be effective. We sometimes it happen that you don't have, so you can use charts, graph, right? Okay, we don't need illustration all the time, right? So when we see use visual evidence reinforce your argument and boost audience recall by 32%, right? Use functional visual charts and graphs showing data trend. If the text is, if the concept is about the data, wait. So whenever you have text related to like data thing, so use chart and graph, okay? And if you are explaining the some process or relationship, right? So you can use a diagram, okay? Whenever like photos that grounded abstract concept in reality, tables that compare, like if there is a comparison thing just use a table, that's it. What we have to avoid, clip art that adds no information value, like PowerPoint clip ad, animation purely for visual wow effect, stock photos that are generic and unrelated, like you use a flower, you use a realistic photo of a man, but the concept is about banking. Why you added man? Icon used as a decoration, not as meaning. If you are using icon, it should support the message. Let's say if the concept is about active listening skill, you should listen actively. So you can use an icon there. If you search for that, you will get an icon. If let's say active listening skill, if that's my topic, right? If I'm looking for icon, so you do, so this icon simply communicate that there are big ears. Listen actively. There are chat bubble. So even if you are picking some of icon, that should communicate the idea, right? Like there is a chat bubble, like content, read, listening to something, content, and the big ear with the openness. So that is representing the idea. Like you should listen actively, right? Mm, mm. Now this is again an icon, but it is not simple. Like without the text, if you are seeing that, we can't recognize much. Like it is about active listening. Okay, so even if you are choosing icon, take some time, make some meaning sense out of it, right? Even your icon should communicate, right? Wait a minute, let there is some lag. Okay, now before moving ahead, let's take a look for a few more examples, right? Now there is a text, right? Now there is a text related to like some result. Average vehicle speed before implementation this, average vehicle speed after implementation this, standard deviation before after. So we just created a temple like implementation, standard deviation, average is vehicle speed before and after. That's making much clearer. That is called visualization. Visualization doesn't always mean that you have to use a image, right? It is not. Okay, you can you can chunk, you can present it better format. That should make meaning fast. Like I can't make any sense out of these by just looking at it, but I can make sense by just giving 3 to 4 seconds of attention here what is happening, right? So this is how we can visualize. We will keep more session on visualization for sure. Wait a minute. Let me see what's happening. Okay. Wait a minute. So let's continue. Now, simplified slide focus audience attention on what matters the most. We should focus on the message, not on drawing and all, right? Okay. And even when like only include essential information. If information can be delivered verbally, don't put it on the slide. If the some information is like we don't need to put on screen text for every line in the voiceover, right? Not a temporary handout. Eliminate known data link. Remove bullets point, decorative grid line, clip art, and any element that does not carry information. Every pixel should on its place, right? If something Don't add this, na. Like whatever the purpose is, just put, keep that, and else remove it. For example, if see, like this is the same example we have learned about, right? Now, so these, I hope this is very clear how to visualize from these three examples, right? For you and for there's a one more, like I'm not a science background student, so I can't like, here you can also like clear heading, clear thing here, right? And there is a visual cue, you can be like, if there is screen is presented, right? If you want to focus and like apply button, right? So we can use a highlighter visual cue for better learning. Easily interpreted visual allow audience to confirm rather than discover. We add visual cues, like some, if there's exam, make text heavy slide visual, like this here text heavy slide, formal audience, informal slide, right? Text heavy slide. Question whether you actually need this slide. Details also be delivered verbally, right? Here here we have presented very well. Formal, informal, audience, like same information we have chunked it in a way that it is easily accessible by just looking it on it, right? So when revising a text heavy slide, pick an option that is best suited for your course. Like, let's say have some frequently asked question, FAQs. So so why does the heading have to be complete sentence? We know that now, you know the answer, right? People process information in sentences because people learn in sentence, right? It is how we naturally understand meaning. Think like newspaper headline are always complete sentence. Won't this take a longer to design? At first, yes, but like this way. But slides become fewer and more focused, and the extra efforts communicates your work. Won't this make my presentation longer? Actually, the opposite. Like it will make your presentation shorter. Is this approach conventional in like e-learning? You can use. You have to explain the reason to the subject matter expert if you are doing the same. The idea is that the slide should be clear, clear purpose. Let's end up this session. So, what you should take from this session, what we have learned, whenever you are creating your slide, every slide should tell your audience what to think about the slide, right? Use a sentence heading support with visual evidence, complete sentence heading, functional visual, and simplify design. Do not use something that is not relevant, right? That is what you have to take from the session. You can take the screenshot if you want of these. This is one example. This is another. This is another. We have learned so many examples how to visualize better, right? And these are the good way to represent slides, right? Let's thank you for staying with me to such a long time. Like 30 minutes is few too much. Thank you. We will come up with another session of how to visualize better, like practical session where we will be converting the text into the same. Right. Thank you.